And welcome to our continuation of corporation law where we will be finishing also SRC. Ayan, pasensya na kung medyo na-late tayo ng start. Mukhang nakalimutan ng ating moderator na meron tayong klase ng hapon. And yes, sasagutin ko na kagad ang inyong mga agam-agam. Hindi po ako umitim, hindi po ako marunong nun. No, kahit gaano katagal ako sa isla, hindi talaga ako umitim. Hindi kami tinuruan kung paano umitim. Dali lang. Let me set up. Ayan. So we finished with regards mergers and consolidation, no? At ngayon nga ay tutuloy na natin ang ating discussion with regards the specific kinds of corporations that are also mentioned in the corporation code, beginning with the non-stock corporation. A non-stock corporation, basically, we made the distinction already before that the primary distinction between a stock and a non-stock corporation is that they are not able to distribute dividends. No? Pero ibig bang sabihin na kapag non-stock ay non-profit agad? Hindi naman ibig sabihin yan. No? It doesn't follow. Okay? A non-stock corporation may also earn profit. Yun nga lang, lahat ng profit na kanyang kinikita will have to be reused, no, or to further the purpose for which it was organized. Okay? Hindi pwedeng i-distribute as dividends, or ito yung tinatawag na none of the income will inure to the benefit of any of its members or its trustees. Okay? Nevertheless, lahat ng mga na-discuss na natin with regards an ordinary stock corporation are generally applicable with regards a non-stock corporation also. No? Kaya ang magiging focus na lang ng discussion natin ay kung saan nag-iiba, no, ang isang stock at isang non-stock corporation. So beginning with the purpose. Now, generally, the purpose for creating an ordinary stock corporation will be for profit. Now, kaya nga ito ay pinapayagan mag-distribute ng dividends. Okay? But for non-stock corporation, it can be for any other purpose. It can be because it will be charitable. It can be professional. Yan. I suppose the closest example that you may have with regards to non-stock corporation will be PICPA. No? Because professional ang purpose naman dyan. No? Kaya PICPA will be considered a non-stock corporation also. Kaya hindi rin niya nagdi-distribute ng dividends sa mga member nito na mga CPA. Okay? Now, any other purpose can be for created for purposes of creating the non-stock corporation, allowed na yan. Kung gusto mo kunwari ipagmalaki sa buong mundo na loyal ka, never kang nangaliwa, no, gusto mong gumawa the Loyal Boys of Manila, no, na corporation, pwede yan. No, walang magiging problema. Kaya nga non-stock corporation will be for any other purpose other than generally for profit. Okay? And as we have mentioned, the primary distinction nga dito ay hindi nakakapag-distribute ng dividends ang non-stock corporation. You will notice na ang definition natin ng stock corporations include na yung capital niya ay divided into shares. No? Pero hindi nagiging distinguishing factor yan because a non-stock corporation may have shares of stock also. No? It will constitute the capital. Yun nga lang, hindi nakakapag-distribute ng dividends. Kaya hindi nagmamatter, no, yung capital structure natin dito kung divided by into shares or not. Okay? Now, pangatlo na nagiging difference natin ay yung term of office. Kasi sa directors, generally 1 year, kaya ang ating term of office. Yun nga lang, pag walang naging eleksyon, ay pwede silang mag-continue in a holdover capacity hanggat magkaroon ng panibagong mga direktor. Sa trustees natin in non-stock corporation, generally 3 years. No? And dati, meron pang nalalaman ng corporation code natin na tinatawag na staggered term. Okay? May staggered term kung tawagin. Ayan. Nakakainis. Hindi ko pa na natanggal yung pangalan. Ayan. Okay? Staggered term. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Dati, 1/3 no, ng mga trustees natin will expire every year. Okay? Kaya ibig sabihin, kung kunwari 9 ang trustees mo, no, yung tatlo sa kanila will have a term of 1 year, yung tatlo will have a term of 2 years, yung tatlo will have a term of 3 years. Para every year, 1/3 no, ng composition ng Board of Trustees ang pinapalitan natin. Okay? But take note, under the Revised Corporation Code, wala na tayong ganyan ngayon. No? Basta 3 years na lang ang term ng mga trustees natin. Okay? Except kapag educational ang purpose niya. No, dahil pag educational institution, 5 years. No, ang term na binibigay at applicable pa rin dito yung concept ng staggered term. Yun nga lang dito sa kanila 1/5. Okay, ang nagiging rule natin, no, na 1/5 every year ang pinapalitan. Kaya kung 15 kunwari nagtayo ka ngayon, no, ng educational corporation na non-stock, okay? Tapos 15 kunwari ang directors mo, no? So 3 ang magiging tatlo sa kanila 1 year ang term, tatlo 2 years, tatlo 3 years, para every year 1/5 ang pinapalitan na nasa Board of Trustees natin. Okay? And again, the staggered term will still be applicable with regards educational institutions kasi hindi tinanggal. No? Although parang pag tinignan mo, parang nakalimutan lang. No? Mukhang hindi lang na-amend. Okay? Pero andun pa rin. Okay? Sa Corporation Code natin despite the amendments of the Revised Corporation Code. Okay? Now, pang-apat will be on voting. Now, because sa stock corporation, sabi natin generally applicable ang cumulative voting kung saan nga minumultiply natin yung number of shares with the number of directors to be elected. No? And by default, yan ay applicable sa stock corporations. Okay? But sabi natin, ano ba ang purpose niyan? No, bakit may cumulative voting? Para nga yung ating mga minority stockholders, no, na medyo maliliit ang percentage shares na meron sila, ay magkakaroon pa rin ng representation or at least magkaroon ng chance, no, na magka-representation sa board of directors dahil pwede nilang pagsama-samahin yung mga boto nila, no, sisigaw sila, let's vote in. Ayan, tapos isang director man lang ma-elect nila as a representative. Okay, pero sa non-stock corporations, hindi applicable ang cumulative voting considering that each member gets one vote. No, kaya wala tayong concept ng minority member. No, kaya dahil equal naman ang right to vote nila, walang silbi, no, kung tayo ay magko-cumulative voting pa. Kaya by default, sa non-stock corporation walang cumulative voting, straight voting lang ang mag-a-apply kasi nga each member gets one vote. Nevertheless, cumulative voting may be an exceptional applicability or pwedeng magkaroon ng exceptional applicability kung i-allow yan sa bylaws or sa articles of incorporation. No, by default lang walang sense, no, na mag-adapt pa ng cumulative voting pag non-stock corporations. Okay? Now, with regards the manner of voting, sa stock corporation natin, pinapayagan yan either in person or proxy. Pero sa non-stock kasi, pwede default na by mail. Now, in fact, sa PICPA ginagawa yan at ginagawa na ngayon yan online. No? Kadalasan, naka-Google Forms na lang. No? Yung mga voting na ginaganap kapag magbobotohan na ng officers ng mga chapters. No? Kaya, yan, hindi naman din bago, although pareho naman in both cases na ina-allow na ngayon yung pag-attend in absentia. Okay? Or yung via teleconferencing or video conferencing, ina-allow naman pareho. Yun nga lang, even before the amendment of the revised corporation code, sa non-stock corporation, pinapayagan yan even by mail. No? Hindi kailangan na in person. Or do kadalasan, naalala ko dati, pag nagkakaroon ng election ng PICPA officers, no, pag ikaw ay sa auditing firm nagtatrabaho, kadalasan pinag-execute ka na lang ng proxy. No? Para yung mga partners at managers na uma-attend ng meeting, sila na lang ang boboto in your behalf, no? Kasi sila din yung tumatakbo. Yung tumatakbo din na magiging officer. Kaya ng PICPA or ng particular chapter to which you are a member of. And with regards transferability, generally transferable naman kapag ordinary stock, no? Kaya nga nabibenta natin yung shares of stock nang walang problema unless, no, magkakaroon tayo ng mga restrictions that will be adopted. But generally, nonetheless, transferable ang shares of stock natin at nag-a-apply nga yung concept natin ng right of succession. Pero pag non-stock corporation, generally, may personal qualifications na kino-consider kaya ka nagiging member, no? Kaya as a general rule, non-transferable ang pagiging member sa non-stock corporation. Again, babalikan mo lang dito yung PICPA, no, as an example. Kung kunwari nga CPA ka na, no, tapos prominent ka na in whatever, no, or kahit hindi man, kaya ikaw ay CPA na, kung ikaw ay mamamatay, hindi naman mamanahin ng anak mo, no, yung pagiging member sa PICPA. Kaya kasi nga non-transferable in character unless the articles or the bylaws would provide na allowable ang pag-transfer ng shares. Like for example, yung mga recreational clubs, no, like yung mga Manila Polo Club, mga Wakwak Country Club, yan, yung mga mamahaling mga clubs, nabibenta talaga dyan yung pagiging member. No? In fact, very expensive, no, yung mga shares na meron sila, okay? Pero nabibenta nga, no? Kasi ina-allow ng kanilang articles or ng kanilang bylaws. Kaya general rule lang natin na non-transferable, pero pwede naman, no? If it will be allowable in the bylaws or the articles. Okay? Now, as to ownership, in a stock corporation, the director must own at least one share. Even independent directors are required to have that. Now, kahit maging independent director ka sa stock corporation, dapat din meron kang at least one share na ownership. Pero sa non-stock corporations natin, hindi nagiging applicable yung requirement na member kapag independent trustee. Now, pero for all others na trustees natin ay kailangan member. No? Ganon din ang magiging requirement na commonality nga. Ang nagiging difference lang ay sa independent trustee na hindi na kailangan ng member pa. Kaya ng non-stock corporation. And with regards to the place of meeting, ito I wanted to highlight lang na hindi na ganyan ang rule natin. Same na. Okay, nasa principal office pa rin ang magiging location ng meeting natin. Okay, unless it will not be practicable, then you can hold a meeting in any of the places in the city or municipality where the principal office will be located. I believe nagkaroon ng isang question dyan sa inyong pre-board, no, na nasa Makati. Kaya ang iingatan nyo nga lang dyan ay pag probinsya, no, kasi kaya minsan matcha-challenge pa dito talaga yung geography mo, no, so pwede yung kaalaman mo sa geography. Kasi kung probinsya, hindi considered one city or municipality ang province, no, pero pareho na tayo ng rules, no, with regards to the place of meeting ng stockholders at ng members ng non-stock corporation. Okay? Now, another kind of corporation will be yung close corporations natin. Now, sa closed corporation natin, may mga specific entities that are vested with public interest that are not allowed, okay, to form as a closed corporation. No? At ito nga kadalasan, yung may mga vested public interest na. No? Kaya mining companies, oil companies, insurance, banks, public utilities, mga hindi pwede. But take note, hindi ito exclusive list. Now, the NEDA will be allowed to recommend kung pwede pang dagdagan, no, yung mga entities na ito na bawal maging closed corporation. Kadalasan kasi yung closed corporation, no, ay ay pagmamay-ari lang ng mga certain families. Okay? So sir, ibig mo sabihin, yung mga pagiging mayor sa isang lugar ay closed corporation? Kasi sila-sila ding magkakapamilya ang nagiging mayor. Hindi. No, kasi in order to be a closed corporation, may tatlong mandatory requirements tayo na dapat lalabas sa articles. No? Na magiging unang tatlong pagkakaiba nga that we will find between an ordinary stock and a closed corporation. So una, no, yung number of stockholders natin ay hanggang 20 lang. Na maximum 20 kapag closed corporation. Sa ordinary stock corporation, there's no such limit. Na in fact, sa ordinary stock corporations, minsan umaabot pa ng 1,000, no, ang mga stockholders niyan. No? Kasi nga allowed naman na lumagpas ng 20. Pangalawa, okay, is that there are restrictions, specified restrictions that are mandatory na kapag closed corporation, pero pag ordinary stock corporation, optional. Okay, ang pag-adapt ng mga restrictions. No? Pwede na meron pero hindi naman requirement. Hindi katulad pag closed corporation na dapat meron talaga. At pangatlo ay yung pag-list sa stock exchange. No? Kasi kapag closed corporation, bawal. Pag ordinary stock corporation, pwede. No? At pag nag-list nga yan, yun yung tinatawag nating nagiging publicly listed corporation. Kung saan ang shares nila will be traded in a local stock exchange. And again, etong tatlong ito will be mandatory. No? In order to be considered as a closed corporation, dapat lalabas yan sa articles of incorporation niya. Kaya mawala lang ang isa sa tatlong yan, hindi na closed corporation yung pinag-uusapan natin, ordinary stock corporation na. No? Kasi required na dapat nasa articles yung tatlong provisions na yan. Now, other distinctions that we will note between a closed and an ordinary stock corporation will be with regards the number of directors. No? Kasi yung number of directors natin sa ordinary stock corporation ay hanggang 15 lang. Yun nga lang, pag closed corporation kasi, yung mga stockholders can directly manage the corporation na and do away with the board of directors. Hindi na nila hindi na magkakaroon pa, no, ng board of directors, sila na kagad. Yun nga lang, if they do directly manage the corporation, they will be liable in the same manner as that of a director. No? Kaya effectively ay pwedeng umabot ng 20, no, yung number of directors natin kapag closed corporation. Kasi similar to directors and liability ng stockholders if they directly manage the corporation. Okay? Now, also, a difference will be with regards the limitation that may be applicable to cumulative voting. Now, paano nangyayari yan na nalilimit? Okay? Kasi pagdating sa closed corporation ay pwede tayong magkaroon ng classification of shares. Paano yan nangyayari? Ganito, para lang ma-imagine ninyo or ma-visualize ninyo. Kunwari, na meron tayo ditong closed corporation, tas under the articles of incorporation, may tatlong klase ng shares. Now, they call it Class A, Class B, at Class C na mga shares na ito. Nakalagay sa articles na ang Class A shares ay pagmamay-ari lang dapat ng mga immediate family. Okay? Ito namang B shares ay pwede sa mga relatives at yung Class C shares ay para sa mga friends naman ng pamilya. Okay? They can classify the shares. No? And in that case, pwede rin sila ditong mag-limit na kung kunwari, 5 ang members ng ating board of directors, nakalagay din sa articles or sa bylaws na 3 sa mga director na yan ay i-elect ng Class A shares, isa manggagaling sa Class B shares, isa manggagaling sa Class C shares. No? Kaya in a way, nalilimit yung cumulative voting rights na meron tayo or nagkakaroon ng restriction. Kasi kahit yung Class C shares, pag samasamahin man nila ang boto nila, iisang director lang ang pwede nilang i-elect. No? Kasi nakalimit na with regards to the classification of the shares na allowable pag closed corporation. Pero kapag ordinary stock corporation, generally wala tayong ganyang classification. Kaya meron tayong concept nga ng cumulative voting para makapagkaroon ng representation yung mga minority stockholders natin. Okay? So ganyan. Para lang ma-visualize nyo kung paano yung classification ng shares na ito. Okay? And also, dahil nga magiging directors or pwedeng directly managed by the stockholders. Ang isang closed corporation, they can directly appoint the officers na rin. Na sila na rin na mag-elect kasi nga ang magiging actions nila ay parang board of directors na. Hindi katulad pag ordinary stock corporation, the election of the officers will be done by the board. No? Hindi pwedeng stockholders ang nag-elect ng ating mga corporate officers. Okay? And also with regards the binding effect ng ating restriction. Okay, in order maging binding ang restrictions natin, sabi natin kapag yan ay ordinary stock, sa articles nilalagay at sa stock certificate. Now, pero pag closed corporation, nilalagay na sa articles, nasa stock certificate pa, nasa bylaws pa. Na in order for the restrictions to be binding. Na kaya nga nagiging part ng articles natin yan as other matters kasi required in either case. Na nasa articles naman siya dapat. Dinadagdagan lang natin na pati sa bylaws ay nilalagay pa pag close corporation. Okay? And with regards to the preemptive and appraisal right, kasi sabi natin sa preemptive rights ng ordinary stock corporation may 4 grounds tayo, no, to limit their particular preemptive rights. So pwede yan kapag kunwari to meet the minimum public ownership, okay, kapag yan ay pambayad ng property or pambayad ng utang or limited na or tawag dito, denied na ang preemptive rights sa articles pa lang. Hindi applicable yung mga grounds na yan, no, kapag ang pinag-uusapan natin ay closed corporation. Okay, kasi sa closed corporation, all types of issuances ng shares ay dapat makapag-exercise ng preemptive right. Now, also with the appraisal right. Now, kasi sa ordinary stock corporation natin, 4 lang din ang grounds natin dito. Now, yan yung meron kang amendment ng articles na magkakaroon ng restrictions, ng preference, or affecting the term na ng ating corporation. Nagkaroon ng merger, investment in another corporation, or the disposal of all or substantially all of the assets of the corporation. Hindi rin yan applicable or hindi limited sa 4 na grounds lang ang appraisal right natin or tinatawag nating right to withdraw. Okay, pag yan ay closed corporation. Kasi dito nga, any reason, no, ay pwede ka nang umalis kapag closed corporation ang pinag-uusapan natin. Okay, kaya pagdating sa closed corporation, sinasabi natin na ang preemptive at ang appraisal right ng closed corporation is broader, if not absolute. No, kasi hindi limited or walang limitations, no, with regards the exercise of the preemptive and that of the appraisal right. Okay, now, pangatlo sa mga klase ng corporation na meron tayo ay yung tinatawag na one-person corporation. As the name would suggest, isang tao lang ang composition nitong one-person corp na ito. Kaya nga ito ang dahilan din kung bakit tinanggal natin yung minimum number of incorporators at yung minimum number of directors. No? Dahil dito, isa lang ang stockholder mo. Okay? Now, a one-person corporation can be created by a natural person, by a trust, or an estate. Okay, if you will notice, ito na rin 3 entities na yan yung tinatawag mong individuals when it comes to income tax. No, kaya from a perspective din ng corporation law, sila din yung individuals, no, na pwedeng maging one-person corporation. And as a rule, lahat ng mga diniscuss natin, no, sa ating ordinary stock corporation are generally applicable pa rin sa one-person corp except for the items that we will highlight as we go along the discussion. Now, take note na kapag ikaw ay one-person corporation, required na dapat nasa pangalan na OPC. Na para nga alam kagad ng ibang tao na one-person corporation yung kanilang katransak. Kasi as we will discuss later on, a one-person corporation still has a separate juridical personality, okay? At meron din ditong concept ng limited liability. Okay? Kaya para warning, no? Just in case may medyo praning-praning or yun nga, professionally skeptical. Ayan, yung mga nakakausap nila, no? Kaya alam kagad, no, na one-person corporation ang kausap. Nevertheless, there are entities that are not allowed to form, no, a one-person corporation. Hindi yan pwede kapag yan ay, or rather, may mga hindi applicable, no? Pero gusto ko muna unahin yung hindi pwede. Ayan. Kaya yung mga hindi pwedeng mag-incorporate, no, as a one-person corporation will be those that are vested with public interest also, no? Kaya yung mga financial institutions natin like banks, kaya yung mga insurance companies, pre-need and trust companies, no? Kaya ito nagkakaroon ng agam-agam ang mga tao. Sir, sabi nyo kanina, ang pwedeng mag-one-person corp ay a natural person at trust and an estate. Bakit dito nakalagay yung trust bawal? Trust company. Okay, yung pinagbabawalan natin dito na maging one-person corporation, no? Kasi may kama lang. Kasi pre-need company, trust company, insurance companies. Ganun yung ibig sabihin natin dyan. Ano ba kasi yung trust? Na ito lang, para may idea kayo. Ang trust, supposedly, laging may tinatawag na trustor. Okay, or in some instances, ang tawag ay grantor. No, tapos sa sobrang dami ng kanyang pera at mga ari-arian, binibigay niya na lang yan for safekeeping or management, yung kanyang money or property sa isang trustee. Okay? Or minsan ang tawag dito ay fiduciary for the benefit of a beneficiary. Okay? Alin dyan ang trust? The entire arrangement, okay, is considered a trust. No, ganyan ang magiging setup, no? Kasi under the civil code, a trust is defined as an arrangement. No? Kaya the entire setup is what you call a trust na nagiging separate individual na pwede nga makover ng one-person corp and pwede ring maging subject to income tax as an individual nga. No? Itong trust na ito. Ito, hindi lang talaga tayo masyadong familiar. No? Kasi nga, ito talaga yung concept nito, pang mayaman yan. Kasi kadalasan dyan, yung trustor, no, ay mayamang lolo or lola. Yes, ito talaga sa totoong buhay kung bakit may mga trust. No, kadalasan, kaya ay merong mayamang lolo or lola. Hindi niya kasundo yung anak niya, pero love niya yung apo niya. No, kaya nagtatabi siya ngayon ng pera at ng property, pinapamanage muna sa trustee para pag itong si beneficiary ay umabot na ng 18, umabot na ng 21 years old, magkakaroon na siya ng access sa kanyang trust. No, yan yung mga tinatawag nating trust fund babies. 'di ba? Kaya hindi tayo masyadong familiar talaga kasi nga nasa mga laylayan lang tayo kaya nga tayo nagsisikap eh. Kaya ngayon kahit pagod na kayo, umattend pa rin kayo dito kasi may mga pangarap tayo kailangan abutin para maging trustor tayo, no? Kasi hindi natin alam yung ganyan dahil hindi naman tayo beneficiary, dahil hindi natin maasahan yung mga lolo't lola, mga magulang natin. Tayo na lang ang magiging trustor eventually. No? Pero yan ang setup ng trust, no? Na yung buongan niyan, yung trust ang sinasabi natin. Ngayon, kay alin dyan ang trust company? Pag trust company, siya yung fiduciary sa maraming trust. No? In fact, I had a client before na isang trust company, meron siyang 135 trusts na hinahandle. Okay? Kaya yung trust company, normally acting as a fiduciary in a lot of trusts, kaya ay yung hindi pwedeng maging one-person corp. Now, I hope this clarifies it, no? Kasi nagiging source talaga kadalasan niya ng tanong, bakit yung trust nakalagay pwede, tapos trust company bawal. Okay, so I hope we're clear. Okay, kung bakit yan hindi pwede. At yan nga, para idagdag niyo yan sa mga pangarap niyo sa buhay, yung magse-set up kayo ng trust, no? Na kayo na yung magiging trustor. Wala no. Kasi kung nanonood ka ng Dynasty, dati may napanood ako sa Netflix yung Dynasty, parang yan at yan lagi yung binabanggit, no? Na parang inaantay niya maging 21 siya para ma-access na yung trust niya na sinetap nga ng kanyang lolo, no? Kadalasan ganun dito. Okay? Nasampal na naman ako ng kahirapan. Sabi ng isa, "Huwag magalala, it's a tie." Ayan, damay-damay tayong lahat. Lahat naman tayo hindi naging beneficiary ng trust. 'Di ba? Ang sarap sana ng buhay, no? Kung tayo ay mga beneficiary. Hanggang ngayon nga inaantay ko pa rin sabihin ng nanay ko na twist lang talaga ang lahat. No, na talagang mayaman naman kami, gusto lang niyang magsikap kami sa buhay para marunong kami, no, sa buhay. Kanya-kanya na tayo ng paraan kung paano maghahanap ng easy way out para yumaman. Anyway, hindi rin pwede maging one-person corporation kapag yan ay public corporation or a public company and a publicly listed company. Logically, because a public company would normally require at least 200 shareholders. No? Kaya hindi ka pwede maging public company na one-person corporation at the same time. No? And sa publicly listed naman, normally merong minimum public ownership nga na nag-a-apply dyan, kaya hindi rin pwedeng isang stockholder lang ang meron siya. Okay? Now, hindi rin pwede yung mga non-chartered GOCCs. Anong ibig sabihin ng non-chartered? No? Ibig lang sabihin literal na walang charter. No, kaya hindi special law no ang nag-create ng GOCC. It was incorporated under the Corporation Code also. No, pero hindi nga pwede na one person corp din. Kaya ang GOCC na yan kung hindi special law ang gagawa sa kanya. And yung mga natural persons kapag ang purpose will be to exercise a common profession or that of their profession. Kasi nga sabi natin dito, may concept pa rin tayo ng limited liability. No, kapag one person corp. Kaya imagine doktor ka, no, nagkaroon ng negligence, kaya tuloy ikaw ay nag-cause ng damage sa iyong pasyente. Kinasuhan ka for malpractice. No, dahil doon sa naging damage sa iyong pasyente. Pwede ba sabihin mo, "Oh, one person corp, limited liability lang, up to capital contribution lang ang liability ko." Hindi pwede. No, kasi in the professional capacity, kung bakit ka nag-exercise ng profession, kaya hindi yan pwedeng applicable yung concept ng one person corporation natin. Okay? Now, again, there are 3 items that will not be applicable to a one person corporation na. Now, unang-una, wala na tayong minimum ng authorized capital stock pa. In fact, kahit wala kang authorized capital stock at all, wala namang problema dahil kahit isa lang ang share na meron, sapat na. No? Dahil nga one-person corp naman ang pinag-uusapan natin dito. Pangalawa, okay, walang bylaws. Kasi sabi natin, ano ba yung bylaws? Bylaws are internal rules of government. Okay? Kaya kung kunwari nag-away-away ang mga direktor, nag-away-away ang direktor at officers, nag-away ang direktor at stockholders, stockholders at officers, or mga stockholders, sa bylaws tayo tumitingin. No? Kaya nga ito, pareho lang ang concept ng bylaws sa partnership. No, kasi kung kunwari nanonood ka ng Suits, kung nanonood ka ng Suits, isa lang naman ang goal lagi for the entire show na maging named partner. No? Lahat sila ganun lang ang goal, na malumabas yung pangalan nila doon sa pangalan ng firm. At lagi, para magawa nila yan ng legal, ang lagi nilang kinukonsulta dyan ay si Louis Litt. No? Because Louis Litt knows the bylaws by heart. No? And yun nga, bylaws ang ginagamit natin para nga i-regulate yung magiging relationship ng mga parties sa corporation. And dito, kapag ikaw ay one-person corp, sole stockholder ka, ikaw na rin ang sole director, ikaw na rin kagad ang president ng corporation. So, kailangan mo pa ba ng rules kung paano mo aawayin ang sarili mo? No? Kung sarili mo lang aawayin mo, hindi mo kailangan ng rules pa dyan. No? Kaya hindi na applicable pa yung bylaws kapag one-person corp ang pinag-uusapan. At pangatlo, hindi na rin applicable dito yung minutes of the meeting. The minutes of the meeting is done by the corporate secretary. And literal yan. No? Na kapag may directors meetings tayo, yung corporate secretary takes the minutes. No? Sinusulat niya lahat ng mga napag-uusapan. Okay? Ng mga directors, yung mga resolutions that adopted, yung mga boto ng bawat director, siya ang nagsusulat lahat yan. At nilalagay yan dun sa tinatawag na minutes of the meeting. Kaya kung ikaw, again, ay sole director, ikaw lang mag-isa, hindi na kailangan nakasulat pa kung ano ang napag-usapan mo. Mag-isa. No, kaya ito ang joke nila dito, sabi nila, pag may nagsasalitang mag-isa, lalo na kapag exam, no, kapag nagpe-pre-board kayo, may nagsasalitang mag-isa, huwag mo nang guluhin kasi baka may board meeting. No, baka may board meeting siya sa isip niya, tapos one person corp lang siya. Kaya yan, hindi mo kailangan ng sinusulat pa kung ano yung mga napag-usapan mo, no? Mag-isa. Okay? Pero yun nga, na ang nagiging kapalit na lang ng minutes of the meeting ay yung tinatawag na minutes book, no? Kung saan nga ilalagay yung mga resolutions that will be adopted by our sole director. No? Diyan na lang isusulat yan. Pero hindi na kailangan pa na may meeting na mayroon siyang nakalista kung ano mang napag-usapan dun sa kanyang meeting with himself. No? Kaya yan. Yung mga hindi na magiging applicable pag one person corporation. Now, the articles of incorporation ng one person corp is generally the same. No? Kaya pareho na rin ng contents kung ano man ang laman ng articles ng ordinary stock, yun na rin yan. Kapag one person corp, may dalawa lang tayong idadagdag. Una ay yung mga detalye. The name, nationality, and residences on whoever is the representative ng trust or estate. Kasi all in all, hindi pa rin naman natural person talaga ang trust or yung estate na ito. Kaya merong person acting in its behalf. No? Kaya yung details nung tao na yon ang nilalagay natin. No? Kaya it can be an executor administrator kapag yan ay estate. It can be a guardian, a conservator, a receiver, a trustee, or any other person nga that exercises fiduciary capacity. At kung ano man ang pruweba or proof no, na meron nga siyang authority to act in behalf of the trust or the estate. And pangalawa, no, ay nilalagay din natin yung detalye ng ating magiging nominee at alternate nominee. Okay? As the name would suggest, the nominee and the alternate nominee are tasked no, to take over the one-person corporation in the event na magkaroon ng incapacity or mamatay ang ating sole stockholder. Kaya ang nagiging purpose natin dito kung bakit may nominee or alternate nominee ay para continuous. No, yung management ng one-person corp natin, walang instance na nawawala. No, na walang nagmamanage okay, ng one-person corporation. Okay? Now, as a rule, sabi na nga natin dito, yung ating nag-iisang stockholder, siya na rin kagad ang magiging sole director, siya na rin kagad ang president. Na hindi na siya pwede mag-appoint ng iba. Okay? Kasi unang-una, pwede ka ba mag-appoint ng ibang director? Hindi. Kasi ang director ay required na maging stockholder. Eh, ikaw nga lang ang stockholder. So, walang iba na pwede maging director. Yung president naman, required na dapat director. No? Kaya kung yung president required na maging director, pwede ba yung ibang tao? Hindi rin. No? Kasi sole director ka nga. So, logical lang naman. No? Na pag ikaw ay sole stockholder, ikaw na rin kagad ang sole director at ang presidente. Now, and supposedly within 15 days, na kapag na-issue na yung certificate of incorporation natin, ay i-appoint na yung ibang corporate officers ng corporation, including that of the treasurer, the secretary, or any other officers that it may deem necessary. No? At dapat magbibigay dito ng notice okay, sa SEC within 5 days from the appointment ng ating mga corporate officers na ito. No? Na practically ay parehong-pareho naman na ang function with regards that of an ordinary corporation. Yun nga lang, kapag ikaw ay presidente na, sabi natin si sole stockholder, okay, ay yung director na rin, siya na rin ang presidente, na dito hindi na siya pwede maging corporate secretary. Although dito pinapayagan natin na maging treasurer siya upon two requirements, na dapat magbibigay siya ng bond, okay, at pangalawa, meron siyang written undertaking that he will faithfully administer the funds of the one-person corporation. Na yung magiging disbursement na gagawin niya as the treasurer will be in accordance with the articles of incorporation lamang. No? Kaya technically, yung written undertaking na yan is a promise. Okay, promise yan, no, na talagang gagawin niya yung trabaho niya ng maayos. Now, bakit naman may bond? Now, yung bond kasi, just in case na magkaroon nga ng mismanagement ng funds, no, kaya merong third party na madadamage, no, because of that mismanagement, pero wala na rin pera si one person corp at wala na rin pera yung ating sole stockholder na naging treasurer pa, sa bond kukunin. No, kaya nga ang nature ng bond na ito ay parang surety din, no, na solidarily liable yung surety company. Kaya doon sa inisyuhan niya ng bond na iyan. Ngayon, bakit naman itong ang sole stockholder natin na presidente din ay bawal maging corporate secretary? No, kasi may functions ang mga corporate secretary na hindi magagawa ng sole stockholder. No, it's impossible for him to do so. No, katulad ito hindi naman problema. No, yung pag-maintain ng minutes book natin or ng mga records, lagi naman trabaho yan ng corporate secretary. Okay, allowed naman yan. No, pero yung tatlong natira, okay, kasi dito, kapag nagkaroon ng death or incapacity ang sole stockholder, ino-notify niya ang nominee, ang alternate nominee, ang SEC, at ipapatawag niya yung mga tagapagmana, yung mga heirs to a meeting, na kung ano ang magiging future ng one-person corp na ito. Kaya nga sabi natin, paano mo gagawin yan? Kung ikaw yung sole stockholder, kunwari na namatay, tas ikaw ang corporate secretary, alangan naman mag-apparition ka. No? Talagang magmumulto. No? Magmumulto ka para lang magawa mo pa rin yung trabaho mo kahit sa kabilang buhay. Eh, mali mo walang signal doon. No? Pero, hindi mo, sir, pwede naman po, kunwari magsisend na lang ng video na naka-trigger pag namatay siya. Kung napapanood mo ito, wala na ako. No? Hindi pwede yun. Okay? Kaya, dahil hindi kayang gawin lahat ng functions ng corporate secretary, the one-person corp, which is the sole stockholder, no? At yung ating presidente ay hindi na pwedeng maging corporate secretary. Okay? Now, as we have mentioned a while ago, the function of the nominee will be to take over the management na ng ating one-person corp in the event of death or incapacity. Okay, ng ating sole stockholder. Okay, diyan papasok yung nominee natin, no? Ang pinagkaiba lang kasi dito ay yung magiging extent ng kanyang term. Okay, yung term no ng ating nominee or alternate nominee that we will discuss in a while. Ngayon, ang pangalan nila, again, the names, nationalities, and residences must be provided in the articles, pero at any time ay pwede rin niyang baguhin. No, kaya ito may required lang din na written consent that will be provided by the nominee or the alternate nominee. Okay? At any time ay pwede silang baguhin, no? Hindi porket nasa article sila ay hindi na pwedeng magbago. Okay? Ang ating nominee or alternate nominee. Okay? Now, supposedly, however, no, itong pag-change ng nominee or alternate nominee natin, oddly enough, ang nakalagay sa batas ay hindi na kailangan pang i-amend, no, ang articles of incorporation natin. Okay, kahit daw palitan ang pangalan ng nominee or alternate nominee, hindi na kailangan pa ng amendment, which is kind of weird, no? Kasi kaya mo nga siya nilalagay doon sa articles ay para aware ang mga tao kung sino ang nominee or alternate nominee, yung pala napalitan na. Hindi na magiging reliable yung articles of incorporation pa. Okay? Anyway, the term of the nominee will depend on the cause of the vacancy. Kasi kung sakali dito, sabi natin ang stockholder natin can either undergo death, okay, or incapacity. Yun nga lang dito kasi yung incapacity natin can be temporary in character lang. No? At kapag yan ay temporary lang in character, matatapos na ang term ng nominee natin kapag by self-determination, okay, then the sole stockholder would regain the capacity to perform his duties na. No? Pero kapag permanent, in character or nagkaroon nga ng death, ito naman supposedly kapag nagkaroon na ng legal heirs, no, at yung alam na natin yung legal heirs, at pangalawa ay nakapag-desisyon na sila kung anong gagawin sa ating corporation. Either they will designate any one of them na magiging sole stockholder or the estate itself now will become the sole stockholder of the one-person corporation. Syempre wala tayong concept dyan ng temporary and permanent death. No, ano ba naman yun? Paano ba naman yung temporary death? Mamamatay muna ako 5 days lang, balik na lang ako after. No, walang gano. Kaya permanent din, pasok agad ng death natin. Yung temporary ay sa incapacity lang. Okay? Now, supposedly, kailan naman papasok sa eksena kapag alternate nominee? Kapag si nominee ay unable, incapacitated, or namatay, nauna pa, no, doon sa sole stockholder natin or mag-refuse for whatever reason, or whatever reason nga na walang magiging nominee, no, that who will take over the management of our one-person corp, then the alternate nominee would step in. Okay? Ganun na magiging trabaho lang niya. Talagang parang substitute, parang vice president. No? Ganun ang datingan niya na nag-aantay lang siya. Okay? Para magkaroon siya ng silbi. Now, sabi natin kanina, that nominee or the alternate nominee may be changed anytime. Okay? Yun nga lang ang requirement dyan, kailangan mag-submit pa rin sila ng written undertaking or written consent. No? Pero hindi na daw kakailanganin dito pa ng amendment to the articles of incorporation. Okay? Now, as we have mentioned a while ago, the limited liability concept applies to a sole stockholder na sa one-person corp natin. Kaya technically, the sole stockholder will be liable only up to the capital contributions lang din. Now, with the requirement na dapat the corporation was adequately financed in the beginning. No, kaya kung sakali lang yan na nalugi, no, pero in good faith naman yung mga transactions na pinasok niya, nagkataon lang talaga nalugi dahil sa movement ng market, sa customers or whatever reason na nalugi yan, hindi siya magiging liable with his personal assets. No, kaya ang requirement lang dito at the beginning, no, ay adequately financed naman ng corporation natin. Okay? And pangalawa, na requirement natin dito ay dapat separate na ang ating nagiging management ng property ng one-person corp at hindi yan nagkakaroon ng commingling now with the property of the stockholder. Dapat separately accounted for ang mga properties na yan. Kasi kung sakali na hindi mapatunayan ng sole stockholder na hiniwalay niya ang properties ng one-person corp, now from that of his personal property, nagkakaroon ng solidary liability. Kaya ang ating sole stockholder with that of the one-person corporation. Nevertheless, no, dahil practically nga applicable ang ating limited liability, ibig sabihin, meron ka pa rin ditong corporate entity theory. No, or that there is a separate juridical personality with regards the one-person corporation. Kaya nga ito, pag tinignan mo sa tax code, ang one-person corporation is under the definition of corporations. No, kaya corporate income tax pa rin ang nag-a-apply, no, kahit one-person corp ang pinag-uusapan. Nevertheless, dahil nga applicable ang corporate entity theory, ay applicable pa rin ang concept natin ng piercing the veil. No, kasi lagi namang kasama ng corporate entity theory yung piercing the veil na ito. Na at anytime nga na ginagamit na yung ating legal fiction, no, ng pagiging yung legal fiction ng isang corporation ay ginagamit na for anything illegal, to defend a crime, to justify wrong, to perpetuate fraud, na sineset aside na lang. At tinitreat na lang yung sole stockholder natin as if siya na rin ang corporation. No? Dahil sineset aside na yung separate juridical personality. Okay? Now, an ordinary corporation can be converted into one-person corp. Kung sakali na isang stockholder would acquire all the shares ng isang corporation. Automatic ba ito? Hindi. Kasi just because na-acquire mo lahat ng shares ng isang corporation, nagiging one-person corp na siya, hindi yan automatic. Dapat mag-a-apply ka pa sa SEC nung conversion. Nagagawin mo na ng one-person corp, iyan. Okay? At dito, 60 days ang binibigay sa atin para bigyan ng report or bigyan ng application rather si SEC to convert our ordinary corporation into a one-person corporation. Take note, however, na yung conversion na ito walang nagiging liquidation. Okay, walang liquidation na nagaganap. Kasi considering na yung mga creditors ng ating ordinary corporation ay creditors pa rin ng ating one-person corp after the conversion. Kaya walang kailangan liquidation na pagdaanan. Okay? Now, on the other hand, pwede naman tayong OPC and then magiging ordinary corporation. In which case, again, an application to convert the corporation will be provided to the SEC within a 60-day period. At yung SEC magbibigay din dito ng ating amended Articles of Incorporation or Certificate of Incorporation that will reflect the conversion of the one-person corp to an ordinary corporation. Dito lang hindi naka-specify yung causes, but one cause, possible cause kung bakit tayo magko-convert niyan ay kung sakaling namatay. Kaya ang ating sole stockholder, ito medyo mahaba lang kasi yung provision, but I'll give you a flow chart para makikita niyo yung flow dyan. Now, supposedly, kaya ang simula nga dito nagkaroon ng death ng ating stockholder. Dahil nagkaroon ng death ng stockholder, ang requirement dito yung heirs, ay dapat mag-prepare ng affidavit of heirship. Okay? Or it can be an extrajudicial settlement kahit hindi naka-specify sa batas. Ang naka-specify ang affidavit of self-adjudication. Pero ang commonality lang ng mga dokumento na yan ay lahat sila ay pruweba that they are heirs. Yan ang nagiging purpose niyan. So yung document nila dito that will represent their heirship will then be submitted to our nominee, all the alternate nominee. At itong nominee or alternate nominee na ito ay dapat ibigay na sa mga heirs na yan, yung mga shares ng ating one-person corp. The shares of the one-person corporation will be given to the heirs within a 7-day period. At pag natanggap na yan ng heirs, dito na nga sila magde-decide. Kung gusto nga nila na i-convert yan, yung one-person corp into an ordinary stock corporation or to have the estate be the sole stockholder of the one-person corporation. Nevertheless, 60 days ang binibigay dito para sila ay magbigay sa SEC nung kanilang magiging desisyon. Kung ano man ang gagawin dito sa one-person corporation na ito. So si heirs muna ang may gagawin, ibibigay sa nominee. The nominee or the alternate nominee would then transfer the shares to the heirs within a 7-day period and the heirs would have to decide and provide the SEC with their decision within a 60-day period. Ganyan. Pero nevertheless, kahit nga magkaroon tayo ng conversion dito, walang magiging liquidation. Dahil nga kung sino ang mga creditors ng ating one-person corp, sila pa rin ang magiging creditors ng ating ordinary corporation. Ganun pa rin ang magiging premise natin dyan na walang liquidation na magaganap dahil ang pinapalitan lang naman talaga natin dito ay yung form ng corporation. Kaya hindi na kakailanganin pa na mag-liquidate. Okay? Sige, we'll take our first break muna before we go to foreign corporations and then eventually the rules with regards dissolution. Okay? Sige, break. So, we are now at foreign corporations. Again, in determining whether a corporation is domestic or foreign, ang tina-apply nga lang natin dito ay yung tinatawag na incorporation test. Kaya if a corporation will be incorporated in laws other than or under any law other than the Philippines, foreign corporation na. Ang hina-highlight lang natin dito ay hindi nga nagmamatter dyan yung nationality ng mga stockholders or citizenship ng mga stockholders natin to determine kung domestic or foreign ba. It can be a domestic corporation even though it is 100% foreign owned. It doesn't matter. Basta incorporated in the Philippines, domestic corp na. Kaya yan lang ang nagiging difference natin based on the incorporation test. Under what law was it incorporated? Yun lang ang tinitingnan natin dyan. Iba yung pinag-uusapan natin kapag ina-apply yung control test or yung grandfather rule kung tawagin. Kasi dito, ang tinitingnan natin will be the compliance with the minimum Filipino ownership requirement. That may be applicable to certain industries or with regards to certain acts. Like for example nga, sa constitution natin, the acquisition of land will be limited to Filipinos. Kaya pag corporation yan, dapat at least 60% Filipino-owned siya in order to acquire land or to comply with the requirements of the Constitution. Kaya dyan, control test ang ginagamit natin. At dito, liberal. Kaya minsan ang tawag dito sa control test ay liberal test. Kasi mas maluwag or mas simple yung rule natin dito. Na basta 60% Filipino-owned ang corporation, Filipino corp na. Ang treatment natin sa kanya. That all the shares it owns will be considered as Filipino-owned na din. Just to put it into perspective or para lang ma-visualize nyo muna yung control test natin. Na pag control test ang ginagamit natin normally, may dalawang corporation na pinag-uusapan tayo dyan. Okay, ito si B Corporation, yung tinatawag na investing corporation. Okay, at ito namang si A, yung tinatawag nating investee, okay, corporation. Ibig sabihin, may stocks itong si A Corporation na pagmamay-ari ni B Corporation. No? Kaya investing corp ang tawag natin kay B. Kaya kung kunwari, 100,000 shares. Okay, ang outstanding capital stock na meron itong si A, okay, at si B owns 60% of that, no? Kaya 60,000 of that ay pagmamay-ari ni B Corporation. Ang tinitingnan natin dito ay yung ownership kay A. Na ito lagi ang tinetest natin diyan kung siya ba ay magko-comply with the minimum Filipino ownership requirement. Now, kung sakali na si B Corp ay 60% Filipino-owned. Okay, Filipinos ang may-ari ng 40% ng 60% ng stocks niya. Okay, ito namang 40% pagmamay-ari ng foreigners. Kung control test ang ginagamit natin dito, ang treatment natin diyan kay B Corporation ay Filipino Corp na. Okay, dahil 60% owned naman siya ng mga Filipinos. Filipino Corp na si B Corporation. Kaya pag tinanong natin ilan sa shares ni A, okay, ang considered as Filipino owned. Na in that case, the entire 60,000 na pagmamay-ari ni B Corp. Na dahil nga si B Corp ay Filipino Corporation na ang treatment natin, lahat ng hawak niyang shares ay Filipino owned. Na ganun na nagiging rule natin kapag control test ang sinusunod. Pag ikaw ay nag-grandfather rule, okay, pag grandfather rule ang ating ginamit dito, ito yung tinatawag na stricter test. Okay, kaya nga ang tawag doon sa ating control test ay liberal test. Nasa grandfather rule, stricter ang treatment natin because we trace to the individual stockholders. Okay, sa individual stockholders. No? Kaya hindi nagmamatter dito yung magiging citizenship ng mga corporation. Kasi tinitrace pa natin kung gaano karami sa individual stockholders ang Pilipino. Kaya kung grandfather rule ang gagamitin natin, ilan ang Filipino-owned shares nito? Ni A. Na ibig sabihin, out of the 60,000 shares na pagmamay-ari ni B Corporation, only 60% of that na owned ng Filipinos or equivalent to 36,000 will be considered Filipino-owned. Na kaya sinatawag natin na grandfather rule stricter dahil tinitrace pa, no, to the individual stockholders yung Filipino ownership natin. Hindi katulad pag control test nga, basta 60% Filipino-owned ng isang corporation, Filipino na. No, na lahat ng hawak niya ay considered Filipino-owned na din. Okay, so yan ang nagiging difference. Ngayon, kailan natin ginagamit itong grandfather rule na ito? Now, according to the case of Nara Nickel Mining, ginagamit natin ito kapag below Filipino ownership na, no? Yung threshold requirement bumaba na kagad. No, kaya ito automatic yan, no? Na kapag ginamit mo yung grandfather rule on that particular ground, okay, pag yan ang naging dahilan ba't mo ginamit, di sure na. No, kasi yan pa nagiging agam-agam ng iba. So sir, paano yun? Di sure na talagang hindi magko-comply. Yes. No, ganun naman na nagiging purpose kung bakit na grandfather rule. Or pangalawa, no, pag nagkaroon ng doubt, okay, with regards the authenticity of the Filipino ownership. Na kaya pag may duda, then the courts will then be applying the grandfather rule already. Dito sa kasong ito, sa Nara Nickel Mining, in-apply yan dahil dun sa second ground na may nagkaroon ng duda. Na in fairness naman, pag tinignan mo kasi ang kasong ito, na medyo, how would I describe it? Complicated in a way na very brilliant na in a way yung pagkaka-structure para lang masabi na nag-comply. Brilliant but illegal nonetheless. No, kasi parang maraming entities involved. I think there were about 8 entities involved. No, kaya si A Corporation pagmamay-ari ni B, si B pagmamay-ari si C pagmamay-ari si A, si B si D, ganun kagulo. No, kaya nagkaroon ng duda kung talaga bang nami-meet ng mining company yung kanyang Filipino ownership requirement, tin-raise to the individual stockholders, and it was found na hindi nga nag-comply, no, with the minimum Filipino ownership requirement. Kaya na generally, by default, yung control test ang ginagamit natin. Okay? Yan ang unang-unang ginagamit. Kung sakali lang na magkakaroon ng duda with regards to Filipino ownership, saka lang magne-necessitate na gagamitin pa natin yung grandfather rule, no? Which is, again, the stricter test. So hopefully we're clear, okay, with regards to the control test and that of the grandfather rule. Now, the definition of a foreign corporation includes also the mention of a resident agent that will be its representative in the Philippines. Pero nagiging requirement lang ang resident agent kung ikaw ay mag-a-apply ng license to do business in the Philippines. Kasi kung sakaling kakasuhan yung foreign corporation, sa resident agent na lang ibibigay yung tinatawag nating summons. Okay? Summons is singular, by the way. No? The plural word there is summonses. Okay, summons is singular. Pero yan nga, yung mga naririnig mo minsan sa TV na sinasabi, you've been served. No? Kasi yan ang sineserve, no? Para ma-inform ka na may kasong final laban sa iyo. No? Kaya pag foreign corporation na magninegosyo dito, the possibility na siya ay kasuhan, mahirap. No? Kapag nasa abroad pa, isa-serve yung summons. Kaya nire-require na dapat may resident agent siya dito sa Pilipinas bago siya bigyan ng lisensya. But take note, having a resident agent or not is not determinative kung foreign or domestic ka. Now, it will only be necessary again in order to have a license license to do business in the Philippines. Yun lang ang nagiging purpose kung bakit meron tayong resident agent. Ang naging amendment lang dito ng Revised Corporation Code ay nire-require na dapat si agent is of sound financial standing at dapat in good standing with the SEC na para lang maging qualified as a resident agent of a foreign corporation. Okay? Now, ito ngayon ang consequences kasi now, pag ikaw ay foreign corporation, required na dapat meron kang license to do business in the Philippines bago ka magnegosyo. Bago ka magnegosyo dito. Kaya kung sakasakali na wala ka palang lisensya pero nagnegosyo ka sa Pilipinas, in that case, you will lose access to the courts in the Philippines. Okay? Ibig sabihin, hindi ka pwedeng magkaso. Dahil you will lose access to the courts of the Philippines if you do business without the necessary license. Okay? Pero what constitutes doing business? Itong tatlong test ang binigay ng Supreme Court. Okay? Pero itong test na ito, meron ka ng trigger words. Okay? Na kailangan natandain kung sakaling itanong ito on an objective type question. So yung continuity test natin, nandun mismo yung word na continuity, parehong-pareho. Dahil kung ano man ang activity niya sa Pilipinas, yun naman talaga ang normal functions na meron siya even abroad. As a foreign corporation, tinutuloy lang dito sa Pilipinas. Yung substance test naman natin, nandun mismo yung word na substance. Wag lang kayong malilito dito kasi may word na continuing. Pero yung substance, magiging trigger word mo para tawagin yung substance test. Pero practically, pareho lang naman ang idea. Na yung negosyo na ginagawa mo dito is still a continuation of what you normally do abroad. Or yung magiging normal course of trader business mo abroad, yun din ang ginagawa mo dito para masabi nating doing business na. Or just because there are specific commercial acts that will be done within the contract or within the territory of the Philippines using the contract test within the Philippines or doing business within the Philippines na rin ang treatment natin dyan. Kaya yan, hinighlight ko na lang kung ano yung mga trigger words na kailangan mo lang tandaan kasi possibly kung itatanong ito, kokopyahin lang yung definition. Kasi ganoon naman lagi ang tanungan. Dahil kadalasan nga, ang tanungan ay objective type, kinaka-copy-paste lang yung definition. Tapos siya kalalagyan ng choices. So hahanapin mo lang itong trigger words na ito. Okay? Now, under the Foreign Investment Act, doing business will be anything that will let you earn income or otherwise manage a particular entity in the Philippines. Kaya if you solicit orders or meron kang services that will be rendered in the Philippines, doing business na. Or kung sakaling meron ka ditong permanent establishment dahil meron kang office, meron kang branch, doing business na. Or nagpadala ka ng isang tao. And yes, one person can be considered a permanent establishment even from a tax perspective. Kapag kayo ay nag-discuss na nung tinatawag na double taxation agreements. Kapag 180 days ang naging stay niya dito sa Pilipinas, nagiging doing business na rin in the Philippines yan. Kapag nagkaroon ng representative or distributor na nandito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Or kapag nagmamanage ng isang corporation dito sa Pilipinas regardless of the percentage of shares. Basta you will have an influence on how the corporation in the Philippines or the entity in the Philippines will be managed. Magiging considered na rin yan as doing business and any other act na ina-apply nga natin yung continuity test na nababanggit nga sa Foreign Investment Act natin. Ito na rin yung continuity test natin. Ayan, kaya nandyan yung word na continuity. Okay? Now, on the other hand, hindi naman doing business ang treatment natin kapag investment lang ang purpose. Kahit pag gaano kalaki ang shares na meron ka but you do not participate in the management of that corporation, hindi yan doing business. Merely as an investment. Yun naging purpose kung bakit ka naging stockholder. Or kung sakali, meron ka lang nominee director or officer, okay? Pero ang purpose lang nila is to represent the interest of the foreign corp, but not to mingle with the management of the corporation itself. Okay? Ito, meron yan sa San Miguel. Kasi San Miguel Brewery is 48% owned by Kirin, which is a Japanese beer company. Okay? Kaya literal talaga na may representative lang na nandun talaga sa office din sa finance. Kaya may desk talaga doon para sa Japanese representative na pinapalitan din na every 3 years, every 4 years na papalitan naman. Kaya ngayon naalala ko talaga yan dati kasi noong time na yung sa tax treaty ay dinideny pa ng BIR kapag hindi ka nakapag-file within the deadline. Nung nirecompute namin yung magiging withholding tax na liability aabot ng mga 1.5 billion pesos. Kaya itsura talaga nung hapon para magpapakamatay na. Sabi ko na lang sa boss ko, tayo na lang mag-take over. Ako na ang magpa-file ng tax treaty relief para hindi niya na yan problema. Pero yun nga, yun ang purpose lang niya as a representative ng kanyang foreign corporation. And kung sakaling may distributor sa Pilipinas, pero the distributor acts in its own name. A good example there is Rostans. Kasi nagkaroon talaga ng kaso yun sa Supreme Court, si Rostans mismo. Dahil si Rostans, mga branded, yung mga binibenta niya sa kanyang store, pero nagbebenta si Rostans in its own capacity, not as a mere agent or representative lang ng foreign corporation. But they are acting in their own capacity na sila ang bumibili at nagbebenta nito mga branded na ito. Kaya yung mga foreign corporations ay hindi kino-consider as doing business in the Philippines just because yung brands or yung goods nila ay binibenta ng Rostans. Okay? Now, ito na nga yung sinasabi natin kanina, no? Na kapag ikaw ay nagnegosyo sa Pilipinas pero hindi ka nag-secure ng license sa SEC, you will not have access to any courts in the Philippines. Okay? Kaya sinasabi natin na hindi ka makapag-file ng kahit anong klase ng kaso, whether sa korte, sa administrative agency, sa mga bureau or commissions, hindi pwede. No? Kasi yan ang nagiging parang penalty for doing business without the requisite license. But take note, it is not the lack of license kung bakit hindi ka nagkaka-access sa korte, but because you did business without a license. No, kaya kung kunwari, ang foreign corporation natin ay walang lisensya, pwede ba siyang magkaso sa Pilipinas? Pwede, basta hindi siya nagninegosyo. No, kaya nga hindi porket wala kang lisensya, hindi ka na pwede magkaso. Hindi ka lang pwedeng magkaso kung nagnegosyo ka nang walang lisensya. But there are 5 exceptions there provided by jurisprudence. Okay? In the rules of the court or the decisions of the court, pinayagan pa rin magkaso ang foreign corporation kung isolated transaction naman ito. Na ibig sabihin, hindi naman talaga yan regular, no? Or in the course of trader business yung kanyang ginagawa, one time, big time lang. Okay? Pangalawa, ay kung sakaling ang purpose will be to protect intellectual property. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, may trade, katulad dito sa kaso na ito, nagkaroon ng trademark infringement. No? Dahil, actually, hindi lang trademark infringement yan. Nagkaroon pa ng unfair competition dahil may mga binibentang produkto na ginagaya yung trademark ni Western Equipment Supply na pinagmumukhang produkto nila. No? Kaya in that case, they are merely protecting their rights relative to intellectual property. They were allowed to sue. No, for that particular infringement. Although ang isa rin na naging justification siya ng korte ay dahil signatory ang Pilipinas sa tinatawag nating Treaty of Paris. Na hindi yan yung treaty kung saan binenta ng Spain ang Pilipinas sa Amerika. Now, the Treaty of Paris is a multilateral treaty for the protection of intellectual property. Now, so we committed as a country, no, we committed to protect intellectual property. Okay? Kaya pinayagan din niyang magkaso. Pangatlo, no, ay kapag violation ng revised penal code yung basis ng kaso natin. Okay? Ito yung kaso ng Lacoste. No, dahil literal nga yan, ang dami nila nakita na nagtitinda ng mga damit, no? Polo shirts talaga yan, no, na merong Lacoste na logo, no, yung buhaya. Yun nga lang yan yung mga pagbili mo, yung buhaya nakangiti. No, hindi katulad ni Sir Dayag, sobrang dami. Sir Daig talaga, paborito niyang brand yan. There was a time na naiwan pa kami sa Bali. Now, we stayed for one more day. No, ang flight kasi namin, no, leaves the following day pa compared to the others. Now, kaya na naiwan kami sa Bali, wala kami ginawa kundi mamili. No, at laging hinahanap lang namin ay Lacoste lang. No, nevertheless, bakit yan pinapayagan, no, na matuloy ang kaso? Kasi sino ba talaga ang injured party when it comes to a violation of the revised penal code? The people of the Philippines. No, kaya nga ang title lagi ng kaso ay People of the Philippines versus the accused. No, kaya pinapayagan pa rin yan kahit foreign corporation ang nagiging complainant. Pang-apat ay kapag defense lang. No, if the corporation is merely defending itself. Now, dito sa Time Magazine case na ito, yes, that's Time Magazine, may article that is supposedly defamatory of one senator. Now, itong senator na ito ay nagkaso ng libel. Kaya ngayon, nag-file ng answer. No, itong ating Time Magazine na foreign corporation, di pinayagan kasi kinontra pa. Sabi, bawal kang magkaso kasi ikaw ay foreign corp na nagninegosyo ng walang lisensya. Sabi ng Supreme Court, ikaw itong nagkaso. Alangan namang wala siyang gagawin, steady put lang siya. Di syempre, magpa-file din siya ng defense niya. No, kaya pinayagan pa rin yan. Or, kung sakaling estopel will be applicable na. No, ito, kaakibat din itong first rule natin. Kasi, just to put it simply, no, para to simplify what happened in the case, ang nangyari kasi dito, kunwari may foreign corporation ka, may katransaksya dito, let's say si X Corp na nasa Pilipinas. Na ngayon, nag-deliver na ng goods. Okay, etong si foreign corporation, si X Corp naman hindi nagbayad. No, kaya kinasuhan tuloy ni foreign corporation itong si X Corp for the collection of sum of money for the unpaid purchase price. Sabi ni X Corporation, bawal ka magkaso kasi foreign corporation ka, nagbenta ka sa Pilipinas, so nag-do business ka ng walang lisensya. Sabi ng Supreme Court, it is an isolated transaction. And pangalawa, na you are stopped to question the personality of the foreign corp in suing. Kasi ikaw mismo ang nakipag-transact sa foreign corporation na yan with the knowledge rather, okay, that the foreign corporation does not have license to do business in the Philippines. Kaya may estopel na on the part of X Corporation, hindi niya na pwedeng questionin yung personality to sue. Okay? Now, the last part with regards corporations will be that of dissolution and liquidation. Katulad din naman sa partnership, the dissolution will be the time that the corporate existence would be terminated, but not entirely. Now, because the corporation cannot enter into any contracts anymore that will be in furtherance of the business for which it was incorporated. Now, bawal na yung mga continuation lang, no, ng kanyang mga purposes. No? Pero ang limitation na lang ay ang activities niya will be limited to liquidation na lamang or winding up of the affairs, which period provided by law will be 3 years. Na hanggang 3 years lang dapat from the time na ma-dissolve, dapat liquidated na ang corporation na ito. Now, there are 3 grounds, no, but technically 2, pero 3 grounds for in order three groups rather of grounds to in order to dissolve a corporation. And the first one will be by the expiration of its corporate term. Okay? But logically, mag-a-apply lamang ito if a corporation adopted a fixed term. No? Kasi sabi nga natin, by default, under the revised corporation code ay meron ng perpetual existence. Okay? Ang mga corporation. So kung sakali lang, now that they adopted a fixed term, the expiration itself will cause dissolution also. Kaya kung sakali dito na magpa-file ka ng extension, no, dalawang bagay ang tatandaan natin. Una, dapat ma-file natin yan before expiration. Okay? Because the Supreme Court has been consistent na kahit 1 day ka lang, 2 days lang, 3 days lang ang late mo sa filing na extension, dissolved pa rin yan. No, dissolved pa rin yan. Kung baka nga sa tao, pag namatay na, hindi mo na pwedeng i-extend, no? Na tsaka mo ngayon lalagyan ng mga gamot, tsaka mo idadalhin sa ospital, no? Hindi na magmamatter. Okay? And pangalawa, in order to file the extension ay dapat 3 years, not earlier than 3 years. Okay? Prior to that expiration. Okay? Kaya hindi pwedeng atat. No, kung 4 years pa kunwari ang natitira sa term natin, hindi ka pa pwede mag-file. No, dapat within that 3-year period before the expiration period, before the expiration of the term ang filing natin dito. Okay? Now, we can shorten the corporate term as one of the amendments to the Articles of Incorporation. Ito nga lang yung sinasabi natin na hindi applicable yung requirements natin for amendment in general on 2 points. No, kasi unang-una, hindi pwedeng written assent lang. Dahil dapat dito nagkaroon talaga ng meeting ang mga stockholders natin when they opted to shorten the corporate term. And pangalawa, hindi pwede dito na porket lumagpas lang yung 6 months ay deemed approved na. Wala tayong ganyan. Okay, kapag shortening of the corporate term, there must be an actual approval coming from the SEC for the amendment to shorten the term of our corporation. Okay, now, pangalawa ay yung tinatawag nating voluntary dissolution. Dito lang muna, dinidistinguish lang natin yung voluntary dissolution without creditors affected. Okay, kasi dito mas simple ang procedure natin. May resolution ang board, no, that will be approved by a majority of them, okay, in order to dissolve the corporation. Dahil may approval din dapat ng mga stockholders, magpapadala may stockholders or trust or members rather na mag-a-approve ng resolution ng board na ito, no, or will adopt the resolution of the board, necessarily may meeting. No, at dahil may meeting ka, kailangan magbigay ng notice for that particular meeting, indicating in the agenda na ang purpose ng meeting nila ay para magbotohan kung i-dissolve ba yung corporation or hindi. No, at ngayon nga 20 days na ito. No, dati yan 30. Okay, dati 30 days ang notice requirement, ngayon 20 days na lang. Okay, so magkakaroon pa ng publication itong notice na ito. Okay, ipapublish natin with regards to the time, place, and subject of the meeting for 3 consecutive weeks in a newspaper of general circulation. Okay, in the Philippines or in the locality kung saan ang principal office ng ating corporation. And in the meeting itself, kakailanganin natin dito ng majority, okay, ng ating mga corporation stockholders to approve na the voluntary dissolution. Again, this is where without creditors affected. Okay, without creditors affected. At kapag nakuha na nga natin yan, yung required number of votes na ito, na yung resolution that authorizes the dissolution of the corporation will then be certified, okay, ng dalawa, no, by a majority of the board or the trustees and the corporate secretary. Okay, ang magsa-certify nitong resolution na ito. At yung resolution na yan will then be filed with the SEC. Okay, pero dati, yung resolution lang ang pina-file. With the amendments of the revised corporation, you have to file a request, okay, for dissolution. Attachment na lang yung resolution dyan ngayon. No? And then, no, within that period, provided within 15 days, yan, from receipt of the request, the SEC will then approve that at saka mag-i-issue ng tinatawag na certificate, okay, of dissolution. No? Kaya dito, kung kailan effective ang dissolution natin, that will be upon issuance of the certificate of dissolution by the SEC. Yun nga lang again, these are our procedures kapag there are no creditors affected. Okay, ano naman ang magbabago when there are creditors affected? Okay, kapag yan ay with creditors affected, ito ang una magbabago kasi magiging 2/3. Okay, ang vote na required natin dyan. Pangalawa, yung request kasi ito ang tawag natin ay petition. Okay, for dissolution. Kapag with creditors affected, dahil necessarily magkakaroon pa ng trial or ng hearing, no, bago magkaroon ng dissolution. Hindi katulad nga pag without creditors affected, request na lang ang pina-file natin. Okay? Now, bakit naka-underline yung letter F, G, and H natin dito? Kasi yan ay mga bagong provisions, or FG lang rather. Okay? Kasi yan ay mga bagong provisions in the revised corporation code na pinasok na yung concept na may 15 days. Now, bakit may 15 days muna? No, napalilipasin ng SEC bago niya i-approve yung request for dissolution kasi within that 15-day period ay pwedeng mag-file ng withdrawal. No? And the withdrawal must be supported by the same number of votes necessary from our directors and from our stockholders. No? Kaya kung majority sa board, majority din dapat sa withdrawal. Kung majority sa stockholders, majority din sa withdrawal. Kaya ang datingan tuloy dito, kaya nagkakaroon ng withdrawal ay dahil may nagbago ang isip. Okay, may nagbago ang isip, no? Kaya nagbago, no, yung weight ng botohan natin na hindi na pala i-dissolve ang corporation natin. Kaya dapat the withdrawal must be filed within the 15-day period kasi nga after that 15 days na nga magbibigay na ng approval ang SEC, no? Kaya that's the period then within which to file the withdrawal. At kapag nag-file na nga ng withdrawal, mag-i-issue naman dito ang SEC, okay, ng order, no, kung saan ipapatawag lahat, no, ng mga members ng corporation, yung mga stockholders, directors, or trustees into a joint meeting. Na kaya magkakaroon na ng joint meeting, sasabihin ng SEC sa kanila, ayan, mag-usap-usap kayong lahat, mag-decide kayo once and for all. No, kung i-dissolve ba talaga or hindi. Kasi may nag-file ng request, tapos the same number of votes was reached in order to withdraw, no, the request for